Hey everyone, this is Daniel Litwin, the voice of B2B, coming at you from the Market Scale Home Studio. I'm joined on the line today by Kelly Harlan, Analytics Platform Strategist, and Richard Ventura, SVP of Strategy and Solutions Development, both of them working with NEC Display Solutions. And we're bringing them both on because Richard was actually set to lead a presentation at the now postponed DSE 2020. Title of the presentation was called The State of the Industry, Where Are We Headed? So I wanted to get both Richard and Kelly on to briefly give some thoughts on that future-focused topic, but of course, remotely. So Kelly, Richard, how are you both doing?
Actually, doing pretty well. I'm in Washington State here, and we've been staying home for a little bit, but doing good. Happy, healthy.
Good. Richard, how about you?
We're doing great. Keeping tabs on all of our people, our customers, our partners, making sure everybody has what they need. I mean, it's we talked earlier about the future of the industry. When we started that work on that 6 months ago, it was definitely a different conversation than it is today.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. And so it's kind of funny to be having this conversation now, state of the industry, where we headed. It's kind of thrown a wrench into every single one of those future-focused conversations. I did so many of these at the start of the year. Everyone was thinking, oh, wow, so many great things in store for the transportation industry and for retail. And now look at where we're at. It's a total unknown. So it's interesting to be having these conversations now because the whole playing field has changed. Richard, I want to start with you. I know that you're pretty active with the Digital Signage Federation. You previously served as a chair for the DSF. So what kind of conversations are had within the Digital Signage Federation about where the industry is headed when you're leading that federation, or you're at least within leadership? What are the I guess the higher ups at DSF thinking about? What are the conversation points, and what is really both raising eyebrows out of curiosity and furrowing those eyebrows out of concern among people in DSF?
Being a former chair, we get a interesting vantage point. We get to see what everybody's doing. Whereas when you're on top and you're running as chair, you really saw what was happening below you and at the same time around you. I talk a lot with Spencer Graham, who's the current DSF chair, and share my feedback, what I'm hearing and seeing, hear what he's hearing and seeing. I think part of it is, number one, first and foremost, is just making sure all of our members and everybody in the industry are safe. That's like the number one concern that we all have. The second is, what are their continuity plans? What are they going to do? What are they doing to move forward? What is that new world going to look like for them? What are those trends that are impacting them the most? We're hearing, everyone wants to talk about, well, should we still be deploying touch panels, for example? Mm-hmm. Is touch still a safe technology for us to use? Should we be using mobile? What's going on with digital out of home? We're not all out of our houses right now, so what's going on with digital out of home? And even to the point of, if your workforce is 100% remote, how do we use the tools to communicate to our workforce, right? So what we've seen, and that's our first question about, is touch safe? Yeah, I think touch is safe, but it's the application of touch. It's how we clean the touch screens. It's all the different technologies that are out there to help prevent the transfer of these different viruses and everything else. It's no different than our cell phones. I mean, our cell phones are a touchscreen. They're probably the dirtiest device you'll ever touch. But having strategies, what are those strategies when we come out of this on the other side, so that we can make sure people still feel comfortable using interactive kiosks? We are seeing a lot of new ideations and development, things like voice activation, speaking to a kiosk and saying, tell me how to get to Macy's, or how do I get to the food court, and having it pull up there. Mobile devices communicating to it. Those types of technologies, I think, are going to have some new advances. Digital out of home and the out of home segment as a whole it's going to be really interesting to see how this whole market comes through on the other end. Our biggest struggle is traffic. How do we measure traffic when it's so low? How do we measure the impact of the out of home network, out of home signs? All those things are things that everybody's juggling with right now. And you ask that, what are people going? What do we need to do? This is a big challenging conversation. But I will say the great thing about the digital signage industry, not even just the DSF, but the digital signage industry and the technology industries that work within digital signage is we've got a lot of really smart people, and they're all looking for best ways and best solutions. And some of these solutions are going to be old solutions that we used to do that are tried and true, or they're going to be simple. Like you look at A-frame LED boards and things like that. Those are simple solutions that are going to allow us to do a lot more during and when we come out of this.
Kelly, I want to pivot over to you. So you're an analytics platform strategist, obviously, at NEC Display Solutions, which means that your day-to-day involves a lot of data points and a lot of data analysis. So I wanted to see, what are your thoughts on how data capture and analysis is going to lead the future of the industry? And are there any fresh data points that are now top of mind for professionals in the industry that maybe weren't because of the pandemic? Are there different customer touch points that now might inform strategy for the whole industry?
That's a great question. We've actually spent a lot of time talking to our customers about their pain points and their concerns coming out of this pandemic, and how can data and analytics actually help them, number one, understand the new normal, right? Everything they knew about their environment is going to change. People will be using their spaces differently. It could be a different demographic coming in. It could be different traffic flow. How do we help them react to conditions and concerns people have about social distancing and being safe in their environments? And how can data points actually help support actions they need to take? So we're really thinking about the best way to inform the use of a space, identifying where there's people dwelling and potentially needing to disperse traffic. How do we help them understand crowd flow? And how do we deploy technology that's easy and quick for them to deploy and be able to start to react to these conditions? So I think there's a lot we can do with analytics, and I think we need to start focusing on not just the benefit of what we can do with analytics now, which is triggering messaging, but how do we use digital signage and analytics together to help crowd flow, public health and safety messages, helping people understand where they can get some help and be in still social distancing. So I think there's really a lot that we can do, and I think we're reacting to this post-COVID world by thinking about how to inform customers and make it safe.
I know it's all kind of an unknown right now, but do you have any ideas about when we come out of this pandemic, the kinds of data points that are going to be most valuable to watch for as consumers interact with digital kiosks, or interact with some of the more creative digital signage in retail and brick and mortar spaces? Is there anything that you're particularly interested in looking for to see how do they react differently to a metric that was maybe very exciting before the pandemic, and now you're thinking, well maybe if we're reading off of this data point, it's not going to be quite as useful anymore, or there's something new that is really catching your eye? What are your thoughts there?
So I think for us, it's reacting to maybe some different data points, and it's more, we're thinking operationally might be pretty interesting, like understanding like in and out counts. How are people going in and out of environments? How long are they spending in those areas? How do we help our customers understand capacity, right? And when they can allow more people to come into that environment. So really shifting more to some operational and automating some of that for our customers, and data points that really help them understand how people are using their environments, right? Maybe there's spaces they need to clean more frequently. Could you have heavy use over in certain areas? Maybe they need to pay attention to providing more services and more distance between services because of social distancing, but really understanding the traffic metrics and the dwell metrics and wait time. Because you're going to have a lot of friction points for people waiting to have to wait in line and be 6 feet apart. How do you help with that, right? How do you redirect flow to different service areas? So it's really thinking about more traffic flow, dwell and wait, and relieving friction in the environment.
This is a question for both of you now. Richard, if you want to start, how are you both seeing the digital signage world transform alongside other technologies? So anything from smart city IoT to higher resolution video needs from end users wanting to stream 4K on their digital signage, maybe AI as well. And how are those relationships changing now that we're in the middle of COVID-19?
Well, So an easy one to talk about right now is who isn't using some form of video conferencing, video collaboration system at home right now, right? We're all in
Right.
Zoom or Teams or Cisco. You know, it doesn't matter. There's all these different things. And
Yeah.
one of the things I saw, and it was interesting to see, and it came out very quickly. Signage Live introduced a solution to have digital signage and communication to your employees' laptops and desktop computers at home. So allowing you to distribute very pertinent information to your employees, right? If we look at this is a major transformational period right now that we're going through from an industry perspective. We're changing how people work. We're changing how people engage. We're changing where they're working and where they're engaging. And solutions like that are what really shows how digital signage can transform. I also look at what X2O has done. And, you know, X2O has created and taken their platform, and now they've created this whole virtual classroom technology. And they can be talking to multiple people all over the world in this massive virtual classroom. That's just another easy example of the change, right? These changes like around smart cities and all this stuff, we don't know where that's going to go yet. A lot of it's going to depend on when we come out of this. But I do know that companies that have been investing in delivery of content to multiple different endpoints, measurement of effectiveness of content, being able to deliver analytics, being able to transform the message or deliver different messages depending on what's going on in the environment. So situational awareness, that's what's really going to be changing things. So I think it's almost less of the smart city movement that we've been talking so much about for the last couple of years, and it's much more around the data and the situational awareness and the delivery to multiple endpoints and the ability to engage at different levels, whether it's a one-to-one, a one-to-many. That's really the stuff that we're going to be seeing coming out of this.
Which, but before we hear from Kelly, I just want to chime in. It's interesting how something like a pandemic can shift what draws interest out of professionals in the industry and which use cases become applicable. Because before, you're right, it was very buzzword heavy, and that's not a bad thing necessarily, but AI, IoT, smart city deployments, it was all about the big picture. And now the biggest pain points are the most basic ones: interpersonal communication, basic video distribution, that now everyone is having to deal with and having to figure out how can we build the digital infrastructure to make that happen. So it's interesting to take a look at how those technologies are going to continue to evolve because there is more need, and where that is going to take the digital signage and the AV industry as a whole.
Yeah, and I think maybe this will definitely dovetail what Kelly would talk about is IoT and AI and ML. It's not going away. All right.
No.
Computer vision is going to have such a different role. Being able to allow for that situational awareness, right? These IoT devices are going to drive that situational awareness. The AI and all the algorithms that go in it are going to allow us to start thinking ahead about, if the whole idea is how do we prevent a mass spread of the pandemic, the systems, the signs have to start thinking ahead and looking and understanding its environment so it can really drive the proper level of actions and engagements that we expect.
Right. All right, Kelly, what are your thoughts to that initial question? Just how you're seeing the industry transform alongside other important technologies?
I think what we've seen, especially with our customers, it is becoming more comfortable with AI and machine learning and the IoT environment, and really helping bring forward some of those solutions that may have seemed so far out there and not applicable are really coming into play right now. And it's understanding how we can use that the IoT and all the different endpoints to bring in data points we really didn't even think about. What can we trigger on? What conditions do you have out there that maybe weren't important before that we need to take into consideration when we're delivering messages? How are we gathering data to actually understand your environment in this new world? So I think that there's so many ways to gather data, and we have such a huge opportunity to learn from where we're feeling we have some deficits right now. And so being able to deliver information and understand the environment, the more understanding we can get and the more endpoints we can gather data from is going to be really important in being able to react. We're feeling a lot from customers that they're feeling the pain and there's some panic. How are they going to be able to go back and adapt into this new world? And the best thing we can do is continue to move forward and identify different ways to gather data and integrate that into some analytics to drive some action for them.
All right, y'all. Last main question. I want to hear from Kelly and Richard on this one. In what ways are you seeing the AV industry workforce transforming because of this pandemic? So, I know there are a lot of projects that maybe are being put on hold. Scopes of projects are changing. The technology behind the projects is obviously always improving, and now it's shifting gears a little bit. So how is that affecting the professional workforce, whether that's skills, whether that's pay and benefits? It could be the projects that they're working on in their day-to-day. What are your thoughts? We can start with Richard.
It's a scary time for the industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think projects are being held back or they're being delayed. Companies are furloughing employees, and we heard this from some of our clients and some of our partners. I think we'll get through it. I think, one of the things I'm a really big person on, and Kelly knows this as well as anybody on my team, I'm really big on being agile, and I'm really big about learning. I probably every day I try to at least take 2 or 3 online courses, listening to them, but you're evolving, right? And we've got to grow and we've got to take on new skill sets. This industry is going to need to continue to become more and more agile. We're going to need to be able to transform and ebb and flow with changes that happen in the industry, whether it's a pandemic, unfortunately, to a boom, right? I mean, we're going to see. I mean, you could think about when we finally get to whatever that new norm is. There's a lot of pent-up demand sitting there, and the hopes are that pent-up demand is going to get deployed. I consider myself a pretty smart guy, but I'm not smart enough to tell you what it's going to be like on the back end of this, what the workforce is going to be like.
Sure.
What I can say is, and I say this to everybody that I talk to, is, be agile, learn, think about ways that you can deliver bigger, better, faster solutions, how you can really solve the pain points for your customers. I mean, to me, that's the number one priority. And then take care of your people.
And Kelly, go ahead, some thoughts from you on that one as well.
Yeah, I would say, especially since I'm so deeply involved in the analytics and insight side, I'm finding that really keeping on top of trends and learning about technology and really making the effort to understand what it can bring to the table for you. I think there has been some a little bit of hesitancy to adopt some business intelligence in different areas of the businesses because it's hard to understand the value it brings to you. I would say that this is a good example of having insights and data and analytics to understand that something like a pandemic is extremely valuable, and just being open to understanding how data can benefit you, and looking at trends and learning every day. And we're seeing that with the people we're working with. They've set jobs and now they're saying, okay, tell me more about analytics, how it can help. I want to learn more, and I don't want to be intimidated by it. Help me understand it. We're seeing the shift in mindset in people we're working with.
All right. Thank you both so much for joining us on the call. Again, we were chatting with Kelly Harlan, Analytics Platform Strategist for NEC Display Solutions, and Richard Ventura, SVP of Strategy and Solutions Development for NEC Display Solutions. Kelly, Richard, appreciate both of your insights on the call today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.